Hey everyone, and welcome into week 1 of the playoffs in Pitt County for the Daily Reflector's Fearless Football Forecast. I'm Reflector Prep Sports beat writer Jordan Anders. This is Ronnie Woodward, and Ronnie. It's Wednesday afternoon. A week ago we were at South Central. It was hot and the sun was in our eyes, and this week it's 40 something and windy and rainy and awful. So we're gonna keep this quick, but luckily we've only got 3 high school games this week. Got the band behind us that I'm sure you're probably picking up here. We've got 3 matchups, got 4 teams in the playoffs. South Central got a bye in 4A, made it to the second round already, so we're going to hold off and we'll talk about them next week, whatever their matchup is.
Sounds good.
It's Overhills and Knightdale, the winner of that game they'll get in the second round next week. Also, with the regular season ending, want to give a shout out to the coaching staffs and the players at North Pitt and Rose. Didn't make the playoffs, but we enjoyed going out there and doing the show with them, and enjoyed them being helpful. Appreciate them being helpful for covering them this year. But we're in the first round. We got 3 games, and we'll start with we're here at Conley because Conley's going to be the only team at home on Friday night. It's a pretty slow week. Week 1 of the playoffs for us here. We're going to start on the road, though, because we're going to start with Farmville Central playing Beddingfield. That's a conference matchup, and that's also happening on Thursday night as opposed to Friday because of the Veterans Day weekend this weekend. So the Jags are on the road a day early against a team that they've already seen, Ronnie, and a team that they nearly beat the first. They played well in the first matchup, which was just 2 weeks ago. They went over there and led 13-0 at the end of the first quarter. They were up at halftime, and then kind of let that thing get away from them in the second half with some mistakes and kind of falling prey to Beddingfield's speed a little bit. So I know Scott Gardner, when I talked to him earlier this week, was not thrilled about the idea of playing another conference opponent. I've been here for 3 football seasons. This is the second time in 3 years that's happened to them, winding up matched up with a conference opponent in the first round. But this is one, like I said, that they seem to have an answer for early before it kind of got away. I think they feel like they match up pretty well. But that's, going on the road against a team that just beat you a couple weeks ago, that's a tall task, and not sure what, it's like a weekly thing, not sure what personnel that they'll have over there and how they'll be able to match up with just how fast Beddingfield is. I think Beddingfield just has such a big speed and athleticism advantage. I think the Jags go on the road, and this is a close one. I wouldn't be surprised to see them start fast like they did a couple weeks ago, but I think this is a game that Beddingfield wins and ends Farmville Central season.
All right. I almost wonder what happened in the second half of that game.
Right.
And it was on the road. I think we were following on Twitter that night, and it was just Beddingfield scoring, in bunches there in the third quarter, into the second quarter, into the third.
Outscored them. I think it was 35-8 after halftime. Yeah.
And just kind of pulled away there in the third quarter mainly. So you hit on the speed, obviously, and usually I like teams in this spot. When you lose to a team in regular season, usually you see the film and know what to correct, so you're better in the playoffs. I saw that happen here a lot with Rose and Conley a few times. But like you said, that said, I think Farmville can compete. I don't know if they can necessarily go and win. So I'll take Beddingfield, take the favorite at home. Going to be boring and lame. I kind of want to pick the Jaguars, but I just don't know if I can do it. I think Beddingfield is just a better team when it comes down to it.
Right.
Next game here, tough matchup for our Chargers.
Yeah, no
Aiden Grifton has hit the skids a little bit in the second half of the season. They go at Wallace Rose Hill, an absolute juggernaut. Would you say 3 straight state championships?
3 straight 1 AA state titles.
I mean, every year they're in this spot. They're sitting right here at 9-1. Aiden Grifton's at 6-5. I saw this game at least 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was also the 3rd, 4th round of the playoffs.
It was the year,
Aiden Grifton was really good, and they went and won
the state finals.
Sorry, but this Aiden Grifton team isn't as good from what I've seen as that one of 4 or 5 years ago. So tough for the Chargers. For their sake, the positive is you hope now I don't have to yell the band stopped. That they can grind it out and run some clock and take some possessions away, but Wallace Rose Hill always has some playmakers, always this big play type of guys. There's always a running back or two, or a receiver. They just, every time I've seen them play, they're just really good. They're talented. They have D1 players, a lot of good athletes. So, I think the Chargers, much like Farmville, maybe you go and pull an upset. I just don't think it happens. I think Wallace Rose Hill's too good. If you've won 3 straight championships, I don't think you lose in the first round the next year.
Right.
That's just the way kind of high school football works. So I'll take Wallace Rose Hill.
Well, they did move up a classification now to 2A. Those titles were in 1A, but
that's true.
I was out at Aiden earlier this week talking to Paul Cornwell, and they've had the turnovers the last 3 weeks. He said it was something like 12 or 13 turnovers in this 3-game losing streak that they've had. But even still, their defense has played well enough to where the biggest margin of victory in those 3 games was 14 points. So I mean, they hung right in those games. Their defense has played well. But they got a tough task this week. Wallace Rose Hill has 2 running backs who've rushed for over 1,000 yards. They are just piling it up, chewing up yards and touchdowns on the ground. One of those running backs has 19 scores on the year. The other has 18. I mean, it's a daunting task there for that defense. And offensively, I mean, you'd like to think if you're Aiden Grifton, you can get in the playoffs and maybe kind of hit the reset button, which is a phrase that's been said to me a bunch this week, but because it's that time of year. But you'd like to think the offense would be able to kind of get past those things. But I think this is just too tall of a task with the production that Wallace Rose Hill has on offense and the struggles that Aiden Grifton has had. I don't know that you can turn those around in a week with the way that they played the last 3 weeks. So Chargers have had a great year, but I think that's a tough game to go and win on the road. So I like Wallace Rose Hill there. And then that brings us here to Conley. I'll be here on Friday night. Vikings have won 10 straight. They are hosting Northern Guilford. And I am hoping and praying I do not have to bring my running shoes to run up and down the sideline like I did on Friday night when they played South Central. Second half slowed down a little bit, but a first half that had 93 points, I was up and down. I mean, it was just insane. The Falcons played well and gave Conley. I talked with Nate Connor earlier this afternoon, actually on Wednesday, about the fact that was the first. They went to halftime only up 7, and that was the first real challenge that they faced in weeks, maybe months,
since week 1. Really.
Exactly, yeah. And but they came out in the second half, made some adjustments, and were able to pull away. This team, 78 points in that one again. Holt Naylor's tied the state record with 9 touchdown passes, and then chipped in a couple of running touchdowns just to boot. So they're playing so well. I think eventually, now that we're into the postseason, there's going to come a time where they're going to come up against a team that's going to challenge them, and that they're going to have to be in a real grind and dogfight. I do not think this is the week. Northern Guilford, they throw the ball around a little bit, which could challenge Conley some, but I don't see this one being. I see this being a game that Conley moves on and wins pretty easily.
All right, yeah. Shout out to Holt Naylors and to Nate Connor for just clowning me last week, because I talked on this show about it was all by his legs, his running game. He's going to give it to him.
He throws for
he throws for state record for passing touchdowns. So sorry, South Central, but I guess I kind of flipped the script on you on that one. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Conley's too good. I don't know what round it's going to be. It might be the second, the third, the fourth. There's a lot of talk of how deep this team could go in the playoffs. I think the first round they're going to be okay. They're playing at home. Not much else to say. Like I said, I'm mad that Holton proved me wrong last week. But yeah, I think Conley's fine. They breeze into the second round, and then we'll see what happens with Conley and South Central, and who's kind of left at that point. But I think the Vikings are our sure pick out of these 3.
Agreed.
To get to the next round.
Agreed, definitely. And like you said, if they move on, and we'll have South Central next week, so we'll have at least one game regardless of how Friday night's games go.
Sure.
So we'll do one of these next week to break down the Falcons matchup against whoever they play, and also if one of any number of these 3 that are playing this week are in the second round, we'll have that as well. Like I said, I'll be here on Friday. I'm actually going to Benningfield on Thursday night to see Farmville Central, so we'll have that in Friday's paper and at Reflector.com. I'll be here at Conley, so we'll have that Friday night into Saturday on Reflector.com and in the pages of the paper. I'm on Twitter at Reflector Jordan. You can follow me for updates there. He's Ronnie at Ronnie W11.
Correct.
So you can follow him there for other stuff, since you won't have a game to cover this week.
Not.
So looking forward to that. The playoffs are here. Should be a fun week. Check the pages of the paper and Reflector.com, and we'll be back next week to break down the second round. So thanks for watching.